Good evening and thank you for joining us. A major development today in the case of Alyssa Turnbull.
OPP announced today that they have recovered the remains of the young woman who went missing over 3 years ago and had been presumed dead. Turnbull was last seen in Nipigon in March of 2020. She was 26 years old at the time. Police say her remains were located on October 25th in a remote area of Kaministiquia. OPP have informed Turnbull's family of the discovery.
At least they know where she is. They know to some extent what has happened to her, and they're able to move on and give her the farewell that she deserves, the burial that she deserves. But I don't think any of us can really understand what that family must still be going through.
Police won't say yet whether new charges could be filed against 61-year-old Brian Seuss and 29-year-old Nick Seuss, who currently face charges of indignity to human remains and obstruction of justice in connection with her death. A third person is believed to be associated with Turnbull's death, but police say that person is now deceased, and OPP will not release his name.
Thunder Bay's Integrity Commissioner has released the report into City Councillor Rajni Agarwal that recommends she be suspended 30 days' pay.
It stems from a confrontation between Agarwal and a homeowner carrying out work on their property. But Agarwal insists the report doesn't tell the full story. Vasilios Bellos reports.
A heated confrontation in June saw Councillor Rajni Agarwal caught on video raising her middle finger. Thunder Bay's Integrity Commission investigated the incident and is now recommending a 30-day pay suspension for the councillor. The report only contained one photo, the one of Agarwal making the rude gesture, but Agarwal has provided TBT News with photos from her own perspective. They show the homeowner on Oasis Lane moving soil over the property's rear fence, resulting in the blocking of the sidewalk with a vehicle. Another photo shows a woman with a walker who Agarwal says was forced onto Beverly Street due to the sidewalk being blocked, and that's what led to the confrontation. The Integrity Commissioner says Agarwal demanded the work be stopped while saying she was representing the city. The homeowners say the condo board management approved the work beforehand. The report says that police were called twice to attend the scene, neither time asking the owners to move the vehicle. The report also mentions property management in the area knew Agarwal well and implemented a harassment policy this year to deal with her patterns of behavior. Agarwal has released a statement saying the interaction was due to seeing a disabled woman forced off the sidewalk and walking on Beverly Street toward oncoming traffic. A vehicle and trailer had completely blocked her ability to pass, and she was triggered into a response and, due to anger and fear, reacted. Agarwal says she regrets letting her temper get the better of her, but she says the hand gesture wasn't directed at anyone, and she offered this photo showing only a cell phone held over top of the fence. The Integrity Commissioner says Agarwal lacked acknowledgement that her conduct raised legitimate concerns. Council will decide whether to accept the Integrity Commissioner's recommendation at Monday's council meeting. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Former Lakehead Public School Board Director Ian McRae has been found guilty of professional misconduct. A hearing was held today by a disciplinary panel with the Ontario College of Teachers. McRae, who retired in August of 2022, was accused of making dozens of insulting or inappropriate comments during his 8 years as Director of Education. McRae didn't contest the allegations that were made by 21 different people, including trustees and employees of the Lakehead Board. McRae will receive a written reprimand, and his college certificate will be suspended for 4 months. He'll also have to complete a conflict resolution course if he wishes to teach again in the future. But McRae's lawyer says his client has no plans to re-enter the profession.
Thunder Bay Police are investigating a north side shooting that happened late last night. Police and first responders were called to a home on the 100 block of Macker Avenue around 11 o'clock. Police say an injured male was sent to hospital with what are described as non-life-threatening injuries. The major crimes, forensic, and canine units all attended, and the scene was still being held this morning. Police haven't said whether any suspects have been identified or if anyone has been taken into custody.
The Thunder Bay area's 2 Liberal MPs are firing back after opposition leader Pierre Poilievre criticized them and the Trudeau government's carbon tax rebate yesterday.
Marcus Pawlowski and Patty Hajdu are both defending their government's controversial plan. Joe Sadowski reports.
Thunder Bay is cold, as you know, and the Liberal MPs have failed to give Thunder Bay residents an exemption or a pause on their natural gas and propane heat. So why is it that Patty Hajdu and Marcus Pawlowski have not gotten the same carve out for Thunder Bay that Justin Trudeau has offered other Canadians in the East?
During Poilievre's comments on the carbon tax rebate, he insisted the rebate for heating oil, which mainly benefits Atlantic Canada, should be the same for natural gas and propane heat in places like Thunder Bay. Patty Hajdu emphasizes the differences between the two regions.
We don't have the same challenges in Northern Ontario that we see in Atlantic Canada. We wanted to help Atlantic Canadians, as you know, transition from this incredibly inefficient, dirty way to heat their homes. And quite frankly, I think the leader really needs to go back and take a look at the homework and the math. And maybe that's just not his strong suit.
When asked about the next federal election and how big of an issue that carbon tax will be during a campaign, Marcus Pawlowski was adamant about how the fate of the carbon tax will affect climate change and wasn't shying away from the idea of a federal election.
Yeah, and you know what? Bring it on. I'll take it. I want to make it an election because I think for a lot of people, climate change is the number one electoral issue, certainly for young people, and it ought to be. I mean, it's going to affect how their world is going to look in 5, 10, 20 years.
Joe Sadowski, TBT News.
Ontario is taking steps to remove the provincial portion of the HST, which is 8%, to help build rental housing.
Now that's 8% on qualifying new purpose-built rental housing. Together with the federal government's actions, this would remove the full 13% HST on new purpose-built rental construction in Ontario. In real terms, this means a 2-bedroom rental unit valued at $500,000 would receive $40,000 in provincial tax relief from this rebate.
The enhanced rebate would apply to new purpose-built rental housing like apartment buildings, student housing, and senior residences. It's for projects started between September 14th of this year and the end of 2030 that complete construction by 2035. Earlier this fall, the federal government also announced that it would remove the federal portion of the HST.
The 2023 forest fire season has officially come to an end.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry says the Northwest region saw more wildfires than average and significantly more than last year's very slow fire season. Lee Noonan has the details.
The Northwest saw 476 forest fires this year, which burned more than 324,000 hectares of forest. That's a lot more than last year when there were only 82 small fires covering 113 hectares. And it was significantly less than 2021 when 989 fires burned over a record-setting 779,686 hectares in the region. The fires in the Northwest accounted for 73% of the total 441,000 hectares which burned across the province this year. That amount was nearly twice the 10-year provincial average of 163,000 hectares. Fire Information Officer Chris Marchand says there were very few social impacts or threats to property this year, other than from one fire just a few kilometers north of Cat Lake First Nation, which was safely brought under control.
When we compare it to a season like 2021, when we had as many as 7 communities evacuated, this year we saw far fewer problematic fires that were affecting populations on the landscape.
The most important human impact of wildfires this year was smoke, much of which drifted in from other provinces. Marchand says more than 600 Ontario fire rangers and other staff were deployed to assist Western provinces, with the Northwest receiving help as well from Mexico. Firefighting efforts were concentrated near population areas, while many of the large fires in the region were monitored but left to burn.
Fire has a role within the boreal ecosystem. So when those fires aren't posing a threat to people, to lives, to property, to infrastructure, there is that opportunity and that flexibility to let them do their work on the landscape as they have for millions of years.
Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay Police Association has announced the date for the 2023 Parade of Lights. The parade will take place December 2nd, starting at 7 p.m. The trucks and other vehicles will head up Main Street and the Harbour Expressway from Manitoulin Transport, and will then head along Memorial Avenue, Fort William Road, and Water Street. The annual fundraiser supports 4 local charities that work with special needs kids and young adults. Parade of Lights Chair Greg Stevenson says they hope to exceed last year's fundraising total of $45,600.
With the government, and sometimes they're not as funding as much as they used to. It's really important that we keep these services going because, I mean, they are, and I emphasize, they're special. They're special kids and young adults, and they need our support.
The Parade of Lights is amazing. So we've been part of it for many years, and the money goes to keep costs down for our riders, in particular yearly for our season, because it is an expense that some people can't afford, and we try to keep it minimal.
The parade this year will also feature a quieter sensory-friendly area towards the ends of the parade route between Queen and Water Streets on Fort William Road.
Now that Halloween is officially over, the 5th annual Novemberger campaign can get underway in support of the United Way. This year, there are 27 participating restaurants. They've each created their own special burger with prizes for the tastiest and the top-selling burgers. Local ambassadors will judge the burgers. That includes TBT's own Josh Morano, who dove deep into his first official taste test at the Burger Barn today. For every burger purchased this month, $2 of the proceeds will be donated to the United Way. The campaign has raised more than $80,000 over the past 4 years. United Way CEO Albert Brule says there's a different type of burger for everyone.
Everything from smash burgers to chicken burgers to a seafood burger, a vegetarian burger, and good old carnivorous beef burgers. It's all available for every taste, different budgets. People can go out. I challenge everyone. I challenge you. Get out there. 27 burgers. In 30 days, you get 3 days off for the month of November.
Great organization that gives back to our community all the funding they do. So, it's harder and harder to raise funds these days. So what a great way to, if I can help out and eat some burgers and spread it on social media, then I feel like I can do something for them.
Burger lovers can rate the 27 different Novembergers online at uwaytbay.ca.
A resident at McKellar Place turned 102 years old today. Violet Zucchiatti celebrated her momentous day with friends and family members. Violet was all smiles as the staff at McKellar threw her a party with all her friends and some family dropping in on her special day. One of those relatives, her 9-month-old great-granddaughter, is also named Violet after her. Scattered across the table were pictures of her from the past 102 years, including one from her wedding day in 1945. Violet has had the same message from when she was a little girl and says she attributes that to her long journey.
Well, just keep active and keep happy and have a good outlook on life. You can't be always complaining. Yeah. Just be happy, I think helps.
After a certain age, all these birthdays kind of become like a momentous event, but being able to spend it with her namesake this year is something a little extra special for us.
Violet still enjoys getting out for her walks every day and making sure other residents remember to eat their meals.